Stage 13 of La Vuelta. And it's a tougher day you'd be hard pushed to find. Yes, we've had big breakaways, but yet again, there was a sterling effort to make sure you were up the road, because this was potentially going to be two for the price of one on this day. A GC battle raging behind a high-quality breakaway, with the terrain absolutely begging those to go up the road. Well, we cut the cordons and got ourselves off and underway with a little bit of dampness, but it did not indeed cool down the proceedings. It was white hot from the very start. Destination Puerto de Ancares, but just look at the altimetry. Climbing again out of the back door. Kellerais climbs up for grabs, an intermediate sprint, but the big kicker at the end to Ancares itself, with ramps of 15 and 18%, was to be feared. Well, Wout van Aert was amongst the first movers. Marc Soler, evergreen breakaway rider, also up the road, and the gap started to increase to become a very, very large one. The green jersey was up front, and the men with the green sleeves, Decathlon AG Tour La Mondiale, looking after Ben O'Connor, were doing much of the duty. Well, that burden was taken over by, indeed, Movistar a little bit later on. But as our breakaway sailed up the road, all 23 of them, Campenaerts was yet again instilled. Early mountains points went to Wout van Aert, who shared the mountains lead at the beginning of the day with, indeed, Adam Yates. Was he really looking for mountains points? The answer was yes. If they're there, why not take them? Well, it started to thin down just a little. Mara Schmidt was up there, Campenaerts, Wout van Aert, and indeed Soler was constantly just baiting and indeed determined to get in the break. Likewise, the Canadian champion Woods. So it's a selection, gradual but certain, amongst the 23. It looked to be UAE Team Emirates Day, with Vine, McNulty and Soler all battling for position. Soler himself in sacrificial mode, it seems, and out to deny, maybe, Van Aert some more mountains points. He'd already taken the first two climbs. Would he take the third of the day? It was an extraordinarily good day for Van Aert. A bad day it turned out for UAE Team Emirates. On the descent, both Brandon McNulty and indeed Jay Vine found themselves in trouble. Vine less injured, Brandon McNulty very lucky to have gone between the uprights on the barriers. Cut, but indeed still remounted and finished the day. Movistar were doing the chasing at this point, called for by Mas the pace. Would he put any of the main rivals for the GC to the sword? That was one battle. This one was raging up front. Now it was the turn of Schmidt to impose himself. The Swiss champion rolled off, joined, of course, by the Canadian champion. Woods is 37 years of age, turns 38 in October, and he sailed up this mountain like he absolutely owned it. Not many riders had done a recon of the course, but they still imposed themselves and dug very, very deep. None deeper than Woods, who was heading for an incredible victory, making it indeed 3 Vuelta wins to his name. But further down the mountain there was a GC battle raging, and suddenly Movistar found themselves with no resources left, save for Mas himself, who was on the back wheel of Primož Roglic, whose team Red Bull slung him up the mountain. Sepp Kuss tried to stay with it, and away they went. As they pedalled on, and Woods was finishing the job he'd set himself to do in brilliant fashion. All credit to the man with the rather groovy maple leaf upon his breast. The Canadian champion, absolutely delighted and totally exhausted. Fabulous after 4 hours and 19 minutes in the saddle. Meanwhile, Mas, having burnt down his entire team, would he get fried himself? Same question we were answering about Ben O'Connor. The man in the red jersey, there was a distance between him and indeed the main players or rivals, including Mikkel Landa, who had a very good day. Mas, well, he had all the intentions and put his team on the front to do much of the work, but it was a magic carpet ride for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe and indeed Primož Roglic. He kicked on, gapped Mas, and indeed started to close down, at least in terms of the time gap between himself and Ben O'Connor, with every single pedal stroke. Coming home along with Dylan Teuns, who'd been in the original breakaway, suddenly the clock was counting behind Roglic. What would be the gap? Well over 3 minutes at the beginning of the day, but that was about to be chopped down big time. Chopping into the mountain as well was Richard Carapaz, finishing along with Enric Mas, and then we waited for Ben O'Connor to come home. Still in red at the end of the day, and a credit to him. Phenomenal riding by our leader. Well, he asked what the time gap was. He was told 1:55. But that means he still has an overall lead of 1:21. As for our stage winner Woods, delight. And for all neutrals as well. Super, super athlete. Joy unbridled. Woods taking it ahead of Schmidt, Soler, Oman, Van Aert, Limreiser, Para, Biscara, Vergalito and Lebert, all in the break of course. Big smile from the Canadian. And huge applause as well for Wout van Aert. What an animator. Mountain jersey is his. Now nearest rival to him, Jay Vine on 23, Adam Yates still on 22. But the polka dots belong to the man who also owns green, Wout van Aert. In red, Ben O'Connor. 1:21 to Primoz Roglic now. 3 minutes and 1 to Enric Mas. Roglic the big winner of the day, but Ben O'Connor still in red, defiantly so. So what of tomorrow? Stage 14, Villablino. It's a downhill run for home. That may well indeed offer up something to a breakaway, and the gaps shouldn't be too big amongst the GC, but entertainment is absolutely guaranteed. You know where to find it. It's right here.